Julian from luminatic.com. Today it's another episode of image critiques, and I got contacted by tourhuntr on Instagram, and he asked me if I was willing to review his images and comment on them, and I'm happy to follow that request, so here we are. He sent me 5 images, or he named 5 images which I should review, but I think I will take the freedom to review some other pictures which caught my eye when I was scrolling through his feed. So, here we go. tourhuntr is a guy from Germany. He drives a Kawasaki Z900 and obviously posts a lot of images from his tours. So, which is a pretty successful strategy on Instagram. So it's mostly images of his bike or him and his bike. And as we can see, this works on Instagram, 12,000 followers, that's quite a lot. So let's start. This one is a shot, a self-portrait he took, and he told me he's photographing with a Sony camera and he's editing the images on the computer. I'm mentioning that because on Instagram we have a lot of people who just in brackets use their smartphone and edit inside on the phone, which is also a valid strategy, that's okay, but it's worth mentioning because the standards you apply to editing something on a smartphone and editing on a computer are different because you've got way more possibilities on a computer. So here we are. First shot, classic side portrait. It looks as if he's going to start because the head is a little down, it's a little bent down. He chose a good position concerning the light because, as we can see, directly in front of the bike there's a small light strip, and if he stood there, then there would be very hard shadows. So standing just at the edge of the shadow was a very good decision. I like the location, and it's obviously some industrial area. What could be done better? Well, we have here the sign which prompts up behind the bike. In my opinion, this is a little distracting because some things that pop up behind the bike or above the helmet, there is sometimes the images where a tree grows out of the helmet. This is what I don't like, but that's a personal preference. And perhaps I'd have edited out this piece of paper or cardboard or whatever it is. But besides from that, it's a nice shot and something you see on Instagram a lot. So this is absolutely a valid shot for this platform. Next shot, on another tour, again he stands in the shadow, the bike comes out really nicely, bike is propped on the side stand, so it's leaning a little bit back from the camera. In order to have the bike a little more natural in appearance, I sometimes do something here below the side stand, perhaps a rock. I have a small disc which I put under it just to have the bike more upright. I think in this case he wanted to show the location and how the landscape unfolds behind the bike, which is quite beautiful. The background and foreground are nicely separated because the background is blurred, it's out of focus, and the foreground is in focus, so the bike is quite sharp, details come out nice, so that looks very good. Same here, if I go back to this one, it's a little bit blurred. In my opinion, it could have been a little bit more blurred, so I don't know at which aperture you shot, so I'd have perhaps opened the aperture a little more to blur the background even more in order to separate the bike from the background. But that's just really cherry picking now. Another classic 3/4 shot on the side of the road. Colors look a little strange. The red looks so unnatural. It looks a little oversaturated. Here it's a really nice red, nice contrasts, and here the tone curve looks a little flat, so the bike doesn't pop that hard. Background is okay. It's a trees and foliage, so that's not really distracting. And perhaps I'd have removed this one here, which might be the gloves or something you put there. So always pay attention to the background. And perhaps in this one, unless this was the look you wanted to go for, but it looks a little bit like the editing went a little bit out of hand and little color mismatch. So I like the edit on this one. This is really popping. This is crystal clear. I like this one much better. Next one, again on the tour. I think you took the photo because of the very nice clouds here and the really impressive background, the sky, and I can imagine that with the naked eye the scenery would have been way more impressive, and cameras struggle to capture this the beauty of a sunset or so, because all the different color tones and shades are difficult to catch on camera, because the sensors struggle with this sometimes. Because this part here is a little this looks a little overexposed, or at least at the edge to being overexposed, so perhaps you could put this a little bit more down and regulate the lights a little down. The placement of the bike, it's in my opinion too close to the rim here, because the space between here and the back wheel and here and the front wheel is different, so it looks a little bit unsymmetrical, unsymmetrical, you know what I mean. It's not really balanced. You've had this great sky, but I'm not really happy with the background, because my eye went to those signs, even though they are not readable because they're too far away, and this is not a nice background. You wanted to put the focus here on the clouds. So in this situation, I'd perhaps driven to a place where you don't have a lot of background, and taking a really low position with the camera to have a lot of sky in the shot. Put the bike upright, so put something under the kickstand, and then put the bike upright, take a really low camera position so that the camera is looking a little bit upwards, and then you have more of the sky and less of the background. You can imagine you have now like 2/3 of the image, about 2/3 are the floor here, the ground, and the trees and the building, and only 1/3 is the sky. So if you take a lower position, you will have more of the sky. Yeah, another 3/4 shot. As I said, Instagram, the rules on Instagram are pretty much different from what you would show in a portfolio as a photographer. So here he wants to show, yeah, I'm touring, I'm living the life, I'm living the bike life, and that's what's coming through in his channel. Here, I'm not so sure about the editing. It looks good, but there's something that bothers me, and I can't put my finger on it. I think it's the separation of the back and foreground. The bike is standing quite close to the trees here, and you have a lot of lines here. It's very unruly. You have the lines here and the engine and the bike, so all these technical parts on the bike, and you have the tree and the branches, and everything is just a big maze. And I found it a little bit strenuous to look at the image, because the background and foreground are not so well separated in this part. But besides from that, it's well lit. It's shot against the sunlight, if I'm not mistaken, so which is a difficult shot, and he did a good job at capturing this. The minor comments would be like to clean up this leaf or something like that. As I said, this is really cherry picking, so for Instagram this is absolutely perfect, and the question is, what do you want to achieve with the image? For Instagram, these are perfect shots, and the things I'm mentioning are sometimes really the small details that just don't matter on Instagram, like the leaf here. It's just something that catches my eye, because I want to show the bikes in the best light possible and show the bikes from the best angles. And so this is then what catches my eyes, because I'm really cleaning up these smaller things here. Okay, those are the images he gave me to review, but now I'm taking the liberty of scrolling through his feed because there were some other images which I really like. This one here, he's got some of those shots, a shot with a selfie stick, and I just asked him via the chat which camera he uses in this case. And in this case, of course, it's not the Sony Alpha, which would be too heavy for a selfie stick. So usually he uses an action camera to mount there, and this is a very good option for making such selfie shots. I love the scenery. You've got beautiful clouds. This really sparks this image sparks the desire to ride, to go on my bike and ride and go to the mountains and see and experience adventure. So this one is really great. I love it. Same here. Oh my god. You're up in the mountains, obviously. There's a thunderstorm approaching. This is really, wow, this is adventure, and you can really feel that somebody is doing a great tour here. From a photographic point of view, yes, that rock is interesting, but actually the clouds are more epic than this rock. I personally, and perhaps you've got one image like this in your archive, and you can post it too. I'd have moved the bike to somewhere where there's not so much background. Like, for example, if you've had photographed from this side, side portrait, you'd have this rubble heap. Perhaps you can move it, there was a place to move it somewhere else. And then again, take a low position with the camera and show as much as possible of the clouds. So, for example, going low so that perhaps a third of the frame is filled with the mountains in the background, and the rest are those really epic storm clouds. That would have been really awesome. So perhaps you have got one of those shots, or in your next tour you can do a shot like this if you encounter a situation like this. The editing, please pay attention when editing. You can see that the rock is having a slight halo. That appears if you draw if you put the lights down, if you regulate the lights down, or if you play with the darker areas, or if you play with clarity. Sometimes this happens. So pay attention to this halo, because this, as a photographer, this immediately caught my eye and said, okay, editing here. So this looks quite unnatural, but unless that's a great shot. Next ones. I see that you have more images like this with a flatter look. So I'm taking back everything I said before. So I think this was intentional. This is when I criticized this image for being too flat. So obviously this is a different look you want to go for. So this is perfectly valid, and I apologize. So this was your intention, as I've seen here. Yeah, same here. Also, you also see there's a slight halo around the bike. So this is a sign of over excessive editing. And here you did it. Low camera position, you showed a lot of the sky with the beautiful clouds and less of the field here and the road and the hill in the background. So yeah, generally shooting from a low position benefits for the image. So gives a good benefit for the image. Oh my god, that is perfect. Yes, that's shot from a fairly low position. Yes, you've got the epic sunset, wonderful, and even with the helicopter here, that's pure genius. It's or let's say pure luck, because that's our moments you can't recreate unless you own a helicopter and can direct him to fly there and there. This is just, you have to be at the right time and the right space, right place. So, and this was, you've got the epic sunset with the helicopter, your bike. Wow, that's a great shot. This one here, I'm not so happy with this one, again because of the background. I don't know why you stopped here. If it's to show this agricultural machine, whatever it is, it interferes with the bike, so it grows out of the bike and the machine are not very well separated. So from an optical and photographic point of view, this is not the best background. If you wanted to have, if it was your intention to include the machine in the background, this agricultural machine, you could have moved the bike very close to it, just giving ideas now, and perhaps place yourself on this agricultural machine and sit there and take a photo with the bike standing next to it, so that it becomes more integrated into the shot. But this way it's just a slightly blurry mechanical thing in the background and doesn't really give the photo any benefit. Yeah, this one. That's wonderful. I think that's a composite. He told me he's editing with Luminar. By the way, how much time did I already consume? Oh, okay, 50 minutes. Okay, I'll come to a close in a few minutes. This is great with the Milky Way. And actually, it looks quite natural. Of course, somebody knows that due to the lighting here, this doesn't look like nightlight, and this is obviously nightlight, and the colors are very exaggerated. But it's a nice edit. So not every photo has to look as if it was natural. So sometimes you can go for a artificial look, which is like here. Oh, this is nice. Yep, I like this one. Except if I'm really being nitpicky again, the interference of the shield with this bike, I would have preferred to have a small gap in between. But again, that's my personal taste. Not good or bad, just my 5 cents. Okay, those are the other. I know what you wanted to do there, but actually you can see by the position of your legs that you are crouching a little bit to fit more in the frame and to be able to lean on the bike. So this is a little bit comical without you having the intention to it. Perhaps I'd have chosen another posing here on this image. So, to wrap it up, in order not to consume too much time, I really like this channel. So he's constantly showing his bike in different scenarios, in different environments. You do different edits. Lighting, you work with natural light only. I think you don't do any flash or something like that. So you do that in a very well and balanced manner. What I could give you as an advice, pay attention to the background. Here, classic example. It's a great shot, great composition. I'd have edited out this because there's a pole coming out of your head and this just looks a little bit ridiculous. But besides from that, that's a great shot because you can only see part of the bike. Most of your images are where you can see the full bike, and here it's just a part, and the person, which I think is yourself, is in the focus. So that's great. Some black and white edits. So yeah, look for the background. This looks a little bit as if you wanted to take a dump, but I think people already commented on that. So that's another thing where, yeah, okay, I don't know if I would have taken this one. Looks a little bit strange. Perhaps you could have taken one knee down, as if you wanted. I think the intention was to. Or the intention might have been to do a position which goes like, yeah, you're pondering the road, you're going down to see where the road leads and pondering which road you will take and how you will ride the next few hundred meters or something like that, which would have been a little bit more fitting with a off-road bike, because this is obviously off-road and your bike is obviously not an off-road bike. But perhaps I'm interpreting just too much into this image. So I just wanted to take a shot. That's also perfectly okay. I'm talking too much. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to scroll too deep. As I said, it's a solid channel, good photography. Sometimes you should have paid more attention to the background or to the small details. And besides from that, it's really great stuff here. So thank you very much for requesting this review. I hope you could learn something, and see you soon. Bye.